where did the idea come from to train with a low intensity? Where did this trend really come from? So the trend and the idea of training with a low intensity, let me give you some ideas of where that could have come from. So first, we'll use endurance athletes, okay? Cross-country runners, distance runners, fill in the blank, your favorite endurance athlete. They go on some easier runs. Now, why do they do this? To be honest, I'm still trying to figure that out. And I think one of the main reasons is the neuromuscular component. So they're getting more practice at the movement pattern of moving their legs how they need to for their sport. This could have potential benefits. Obviously, they're not going to forget how to run if they skip an easy run, but it's just the practice. And honestly, it's kind of a tradition. Okay, it's kind of a tradition. It's kind of to kill time. Okay, as a team, you set aside time for practices, right? You say, we're going to practice Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. And so you show up. And so the coach has to give you something to do. So that's kind of could be where easy intensity, low intensity work really has become popularized. Also, it can become popularized through another means, okay, through a group, through the internet, and people who spend their time trying to motivate others to get up and be active. And so these influencers that cater toward this, they are putting out the message that you need to do something. You need to do anything is better than nothing, right? And they kind of end up pushing this train more is better, which we know is not true, but it's all in under the idea of getting people up off the couch, getting them moving, because we have a very unhealthy population here in America, and we're trying to figure out what's wrong with it. And a lot of people say, well, we're not moving enough. So they encourage people to move, get up, go for a walk, okay, go outside, get your steps in, things like this. Ride your cycle, do your cycle, do your rower, do your runs, do your jogs. They are putting that information out there and telling you to do that to be active so that you're not sedentary. However, what many people fail to realize is that that message is for the people who don't do anything. The people that sit inside on their couch all day, every day, and they're getting obese. They're getting overweight to extremely obese. They don't do very much. That is the group of people that they're catering the low intensity, activities towards, because you have to. Okay, you're not going to tell somebody who's 500 pounds, who's never done any kind of workout in their whole life, to, sprint themselves to death, or to, power lift, or do anything like very insane or intense. So they try to cater to them by saying, go do something. Anything's better than nothing. Go for a walk. Go for a 15-minute walk. The issue here just lies in that message has also been absorbed by fit people, by athletic people. Okay, so what that looks like is now you have someone, say, just use me for an example. Someone like me who trains with a higher intensity than these people, right? And I could pick up on that message of, oh, I need to be doing all these other things. It's expected of me, right? It's in our culture. You're a fit person, Cameron. You need to be doing all these fit activities. So it's expected that I would also walk for over half an hour a day. I would also go for runs or cycle and ride my bike. Whatever it is, there's kind of this cultural traditional expectation that I'm the guy that's going to be doing the most stuff, the most fitness type stuff, which is not true, and it's misleading, okay, and it's unnecessary for someone like me, and potentially for you watching this. If you are a fit, high intensity person that trains hard in what they do, you do not need to be adding in low intensity, little walks here and there, little jogs here and there, little bike rides, little rowing, whatever it is. You do not need to do that, because you are already at a higher level than that. You are above that. You're not getting more or different or special benefits doing something easy for a longer period of time. It's just lower intensity work. It's just lower intensity. You don't have to call it cardio. Just call it low intensity. That's what it is. It's low intensity. And that's why you can do it for so long. That's why you can reach this steady state point where you don't actually tire the muscles out. You don't fatigue them. You don't exhaust them. So, the spectrum of training and exercise as a whole is really just high intensity down to a low intensity. And there's a threshold point. There's a point in the middle there where once you cross it, going down to the low intensity, you can do it for a very, very long time. Okay, and that's called steady state. That's called long, slow distance. People call it cardio, whatever you want to call that term, of under this threshold, anaerobic threshold. You go under it, you can do it basically forever. You go above it, you cannot do it forever. And so there's a spectrum here where you're above that threshold, so you can't do it forever. So you're gonna get too tired at some point to maintain that intensity. And that is a lot of interval training. That's a lot of what, back to endurance runners do this. They will train in that zone. Okay, they'll do a lot of intervals for specific distances or times in that zone because it's a higher intensity zone. And they plan to not do it forever because they know they cannot do it forever. So they'll do it for a mile repeats, tempo runs, things like this. So that's on the higher intensity threshold. But then there's the highest intensity, okay? So what would be the highest intensity? It's as hard as you can possibly push yourself. That's the highest intensity. It does not mean that you are moving very fast. It doesn't mean you're moving very heavy weight. It just means that you are pushing yourself as hard as you can. And there's a small, finite amount of time that you can do that for. And so in lifting, you want to train at a high intensity. And this is just going to activate your entire body. It's going to activate all the systems if you do it properly. So if you train at too high of an intensity in lifting, that's powerlifting, right? That's where you're lifting so much weight that you can only do it for a very brief amount of time, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, no more than 15 seconds really of your set is when you're a power lifter. So that's a bit too high of an intensity to try to get all the adaptations that you can in one go. So I would advocate for a higher intensity approach, not this low intensity stuff, you guys. That's the whole point of high intensity even existing, is to give you the same or more benefits in less time. There's plenty of research on this where they'll take runners and they'll have one group do a 45-minute run every other day and have another group run for like 10 minutes, but very hard, only like once or twice a week. They get the similar improvements, guys. They get the same improvements. Now, the person who runs for 10 minutes may not be quite as adjusted for like a 45-minute type race, but that's okay. We're not talking competition. That's a totally different ballpark. We're talking training and adaptations. So hopefully this video shed some light on where this low intensity, long duration mindset kind of comes from and how that's infiltrated our culture. And you might say, Cameron, why do you give a crap about this? Why don't you just do your training and leave everybody alone? Well, because everybody's putting out a message, okay? Whether you film a video and post it like this and have a message blatantly in it, or your lifestyle, your activity, how you appear, your appearance, this all puts out a certain message. And I just don't want people to be getting the wrong message and thinking that they need to go perform a bunch of cardio, low intensity work to lose weight, and then they miss out on a lot of benefits they could have had if they trained with a higher intensity and with weights. Okay, I don't want people thinking they have to spend 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week pushing themselves, going for walks every hour, going for jogs twice a day, thinking that they can work themselves in. And quite honestly, it's a lot of junk volume. Okay, I'm trying to spare you and others from junk volume of training. Just get down to the meat and potatoes of what you really need to do And training with the high intensity is what accomplishes that.